published 0446 est. The 30th of November 2017, updated 1942 est. The 30th of November 2017, net migration is at the lowest level for 3 years after tumbling in the wake of the EU referendum, but it is still running at 230,000 annually. Official figures show 230,000 more people came to the UK than left in the year to June, down from a record high of 336,000 in the 12 months before the historic Brexit vote. It is the largest decrease in net long-term migration in any 12-month period since records began in 1964. Latest ONS figures show immigration was 572,000 in the year to June, while emigration was 342,000, giving an overall level of 230,000. That is the lowest since 2014. Long-term immigration was 572,000, while emigration was 342,000 over the period, giving an overall figure that is the lowest since 2014. More than three-quarters of the decrease was accounted for by EU citizens, according to the Office for National Statistics ONS. The news will be a welcome boost for Theresa May, who has pledged to make curbing free movement a red line in Brexit negotiations. However, the rate is still more than double the government's targets of below 100,000. Meanwhile, the number of EU nationals applying for British citizenship has more than doubled to 32,856 in the year ending in September. More than three-quarters of the decrease was accounted for by EU citizens, according to the Office for National Statistics ONS. The Office for National Statistics says net migration has returned to 2014 levels after a peak last year. Long-term net migration to the UK in the 12 months to June 2017 was estimated to be 230,000, a drop of 32% on the number for the 12 months to June 2016, 336,000. The Office for National Statistics says net migration has returned to 2014 levels after a peak last year. Net migration was at its lowest level since the year to December 2013, 209,000. Over three-quarters of the fall can be accounted for by EU citizens. Net migration for this group was down from 189,000 year to June 2016 to 107,000 year to June 2017. This is a statistically significant decrease, according to the ONS. Net migration from the EU was at its lowest level since the year to June 2013, 106,000. Net migration from the EU 8 countries: Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia and Slovenia, was down from 42,000 to 8,000, while the total for Bulgaria and Romania was down from 62,000 to 41,000. The number of EU citizens leaving the UK, 123,000, was at its highest since the year to December 2008. It was also up 29% on the previous 12 months, a statistically significant increase. There was an increase in the number of EU citizens leaving the UK to return to other countries to live, a total of 43,000 in the 12 months to June 2017, a year-on-year rise of 54%. Fewer people overall came to the UK looking for work, a total of 74,000 in the 12 months to June 2017, a year-on-year drop of 43%. Net migration fell by 82,000 to 107,000, which was described as a statistically significant drop. The number of people coming to the UK to look for work has also slumped by 43%, while arrivals who already have a definite job lined up have remained stable. The figures show the lower level of EU net migration is driven by a fall in the numbers arriving and a rise in emigration. The numbers arriving from the bloc dropped 54,000 to 230,000, while those departing the country went up by more than a quarter to 123,000, the highest level since 2008. This pattern was seen across the three different groups of EU member states. These are Western nations including France, Germany and Spain, 8 Central and Eastern European countries including Poland and Czech Republic, which joined the Union in 2004, and Romania and Bulgaria, which became part of the bloc in 2007. Meanwhile, separate figures showed that the number of EU nationals applying to become British citizens nearly doubled in the 12 months after the Brexit vote. Net long-term migration from outside the EU was estimated at 173,000 in the year to June, a fall of 23,000 on the previous year. Nicola White, ONS head of International Migration Statistics, said the first year of data since the EU referendum vote in 2016 shows a decrease in the number of people coming to live in the UK and an increase in the number leaving, resulting in a fall in net migration of 106,000. Over three-quarters of the fall in net migration was accounted for by EU citizens. The decline follows historically high levels of immigration, and it is too early to say whether this represents a long-term trend. Theresa May, pictured on a visit to Jordan today, has made ending free movement a red line in Brexit negotiations. More than 3,500 claims for asylum were made on the basis of UAL orientation over a 20-month period. New figures show the factor was the basis for 3,535 out of nearly 58,000 claims between July 2015 and March 2017, some 1,000 applications by Pakistan nationals, a fifth of the total, cited the grounds. From Nigeria, 362 claims were related to UAL orientation. Around 68% of the 382 cases from Uganda raised the factor. It is not known how many of the claims by nationals from more than a dozen countries were successful. The experimental figures were issued by the Office for National Statistics. Net long-term migration from outside the EU was estimated at 173,000 in the year 2. A fall of 23,000 on the previous year. EU migrants have begun queuing up to take out British citizenship in the year since the EU referendum. For the first time since large-scale Eastern European migration to Britain began in 2004, there is strong evidence that tens of thousands of Europeans wish to gain the rights of British nationality. The ON said, in the past, EU citizens have had no need to become British because they had rights through EU rules. In the year to the end of June, applications from EU citizens for permanent residency went up fivefold, from 27,200 to 145,400. The ON said the leap is likely to be because of more people wanting to obtain confirmation of their rights following the referendum result. The number of people immigrating for a definite job has remained stable, but there has been a 43% decrease in the number of people immigrating to look for work over the last year, especially for EU citizens. These changes suggest that Brexit is likely to be a factor in people's decision to move to or from the UK, but decisions to migrate are complex and other factors are also going to be influencing the figures. Lord Green of Deddington, chairman of Migration Watch UK, said the reduction was significant and very welcome, especially by EU citizens who do not have a job to come to. He added it points to what could be achieved once the UK regains control over migration. Meanwhile, employers who raise cries of alarm should be reminded that we still have a net inflow of over 100,000 from the EU, plus 170,000 from outside the EU, and this month's figure saw a new record of 2.4 million for the number of EU workers in the UK. By Steve.I, the number of students applying to courses in Britain is still startlingly high after the EU referendum. Applications from foreign students rose by 5% to 143,735 in the year after the vote. However, some 141,000 actually arrived after being accepted onto courses, a number down by 23,000 in the year to June. The Office for National Statistics said the level of the drop was not statistically significant. Many students who plan to start courses in the academic year starting in September would have applied for visas during the spring and summer. Student visa applications rose by 9% and 3% for those planning to study at elite Russell Group universities and independent schools, but fell for other further education institutions. There were 3,755 people who applied for visas to study at English language schools, a figure up 34% on the year. The evidence that EU net migration added a further 100,000 to the population over the year follows ON's figures earlier this month that showed numbers of Europeans working in Britain rose rather than fell over a year. The labour force numbers showed that the count of EU nationals employed in this country went up by more than 100,000 in the year to the end of September, reaching a highest ever total of 2,378,000.